We're sisters and grew up in Great Neck Village, which was right down the street from Seaview Beach.
We didn't have buses in that general area. We were probably maybe 3 miles from a bus stop.
And that was Virginia Beach Boulevard.
We had
Bridge.
And if we had to ride the bus, we had to walk that distance unless you had a relative in that area. And everybody in that area back then were relatives.
Oh yeah, it was country. We had horses. Well, we didn't farm, but our uncle lived next door to us, and he had chickens, pigs, horses, and all kinds of stuff. And we used to go on the farm with him.
Go to church.
All day on Sundays. Yeah, that was our entertainment. And in the summer, the beach.
Now back then, we didn't go until the picnic time. Maybe we get there maybe a couple of times. But after we got older, it was a thing. We would go, like on Friday nights, they would always have something special there. Always the dance hall was open, but they would have sometime raffles and different things like that. So
almost every Thursday, starting around July,
different churches.
Different black churches in the area had their church picnics there. And, all the fried chicken, the potato salad, all the good stuff, and the whole church would come. And sometimes, maybe there might be 2 or even 3 churches at the same time. But it didn't matter because we still came whether it was our church or not. And it was, it was a big deal.
We didn't get sick from eating potato salad.
No.
It would be out there all day long.
All day. It didn't go bad. If it did, something else counteracted it. It was fun. You got to see a lot of people that you didn't know, and some relatives who attended other churches. You got to ride on rides, got to play games, got to go in the dance hall, and the water, of course the water.
We were on the beach most of the day, and then we took showers and then put on our new clothes for the day. And then we were, doing the rides. Now, most of the time we would stay on the beach where the food was. And then in the late evening was when we would, get the shower. They would have water just running over you and put your clothes on. And then you would stay on the boardwalk and ride, or if you were allowed to go in the dance hall, you could do that.
The Ferris wheel, the bump cars, we had the swings, and they had the horses. We had the ducks in the water. That's one of the games. And then you had the ball that you would roll into. That was one of the games. I remember the banister because I guess I stayed upstairs looking down most of the time, even as a teenager. But
it was a big attraction.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted to get in there and dance and have a good time.
Did you dance?
Oh yeah.
I didn't do too much of the dancing.
She wasn't. She was my mama's slow child.
I was. I was sheltered. I was the youngest of 6, so nobody wanted me to do anything. And as a matter of fact, my brother, who was just a year and a half, a little over a year older than me, didn't want me to even come in the dance hall. So.
Why not?
Being protective, and a lot of times he caught me in there. Even as a teenager, he'd say, "Okay, it's time to go home."
There were lots of entertainers that came there. What's the guy's name? I think he's from Norfolk.
What's the Holmes name? He used
Jack
Holmes used to bring.
He used to do a lot of DJing there.
DJ. He'd bring people there.
Now they had a private club there. No, this was right at Seaview. beach. They had a private club. I mean, you had to be a certain age to go in, and I think you even had, be a member at one time, and you would have to, know somebody to get into that club. Oh, yeah, people would come in buses.
Yeah.
They bus down and come to the. It was a big attraction, and then you had to pay to get in.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that. The last I remember, you had to pay $2 a person. I'm sure it went up, and that was the last time I was at Seaview. Was the summer of '66, and you still had to pay. But the funny thing is, there was a beach next door called Parker's Beach, and Seaview you paid by the individual to go into, but Parker's you paid by the car. So a lot of people when you weren't really having your picnic or anything would go in a car, and then they go out in the water, and then they come on over
until
to
they
Seaview.
stopped.
They extended the wall out into the water far enough in hopes that it would distract from that. But I do remember that.
They stopped. They stopped. And Parkers didn't have any entertainment. They sold food, beach. And they had, I guess, a little motel type thing that people could rent rooms there. But they had no entertainment, rides or that type of thing.
And a lot of the entertainment was just seeing other people. Yeah. Well, most of the time, we would walk because we lived right. I mean, it was a good walk, but we didn't know anything but walking in those days, so it wasn't that big a deal unless it was a picnic time.
And then, we had transportation, to get there, right from where we were.
You passed cows and horses as you walk down the street. They had a corner store, and of course they had the store on Shore Drive. There was a market, and eventually there was a Carol's Drive-In that was somewhere down in that area. Something like a little fast food place. But it was rural. Two-lane road. It was paved, but that was about it. And big ditches on both sides. So walking it, sometimes if two cars were coming in opposite directions, you jump over the ditch so that you didn't, get hit or anything.
Real country.
It's real country. It was just fun.
Always. I guess the picnics, were probably the better time. But when I guess my senior year in high school, we were allowed to advance out of school. We went there, and that was a big thing.
You could go there from school.
We went there from school.
And with permission.
I can't remember. It was so long ago.
I doubt if she had permission to go.
But we had a real good time.
I didn't have that option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were seniors, so that was the last day of school.
Okay. But it didn't have the amusements and, it was just water and sand as far as we were concerned.
Yeah,
so
you couldn't go to the other end where they had
right.
Ocean View.
Yeah. I think maybe around 64, 63, they did open it up where you could go on the rides and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was real late. Yeah. So we, it just wasn't a thing that most people were interested. Most people from Norfolk were trying to come to Seaview.
Right. Mm-hmm. And they did. That was a big thing for them.
If they wanted to really have the beach experience other than the water and the sand.
And I think that probably the dance hall was a big attraction for most people, older people, not the Christian people. not our parents, because we weren't allowed to go in there for until a certain time, and yeah, they didn't particularly care for that, but they did allow it,
Yeah, because when she was growing up, they probably didn't even want her to dance. Yeah. I remember when there was American Bandstand, and in this area we had the dance party.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when our sister and a couple of cousins, you remember when they went on that, and because it was televised on TV,
Okay,
and they were taken before the church because they wanted to put them out for dancing. So, and that was in the 50s, in the late 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, it really slowed up. There were hardly anybody going to it at the end of it. I guess it slowed up for a couple of summers. I can remember, really slowing up. Because we go to Seaview and it wasn't anything really going on, and we'd leave and go to another beach. What was that? Sunset Lake. There was other options.
Yeah, because Ocean View had a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. It did have some things, and it had more of a boardwalk kind of setting than Seaview did. So maybe so. I just, it's amazing. I just never thought about the way it closed.
I can remember going over there and really, really being slow. I mean, maybe like 25 people there.
At Seaview.
Right before it, started closing down.
I do remember in '66 when I went over there. Gosh, there were probably less than 15, 20 people. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember any rides or anything. I just remember being out on the beach. So.
And we went there, we did some crabbing after it,
we did.
After it slowed down, Mm-hmm. Well, after it stopped, basically, we crabbed down there and go take a lunch and, just go to the beach. Then you could just go and, you didn't have to pay anything. And that was the one thing we did on special days. You get there early because, it would be so crowded, You'd be afraid that you wouldn't be able to get a parking place. So we went early.
Those were good old days. And those are, and oddly enough, because I know I say this a lot, that there are certain things that my daughter would never experience because things had changed so much. But, things like leaving where we lived and walking to the beach without, every now and then, excuse me, white people might do something, throw something, but it wasn't like it is now, So I think, what was it, in the 60s when they had that first abduction? But before then, you just didn't even think about people doing
and
stuff
normally
like
you didn't
that.
walk at night,
Right, and if you did, you walked in a group. Yeah, because I sang in the choir at my high school, and we had engagements, and I would go over to my cousin's house, a guy, and he would thumb a ride, and I'd catch a ride with him so we'd get to where we needed to go. But it was safer.
And a lot of times, a parent
would
would take us there, and then they'd come back and pick us up. And they said, be at that gate at 9 o'clock. You better be at that gate at 9 o'clock. But that's the way it was. They take a whole bunch of us and, drop us off and pick us up. And it was safe, we didn't, have any, real big things that went on. Of course, you always had a little thing, but you could always handle it because your parents wouldn't let you go if they didn't think it would be safe.
Right.
And you weren't allowed to go on the beach part. Parents, this was parents saying it once it got dark, you stay on the boardwalk and not go down to the beach, so that wasn't allowed.
Sparrow
and Mendoza Holloway.
Yeah, and Mendoza Holloway lived in our neighborhood. He was married to our cousin. Yeah, lived in our. So you were always careful anyway because you didn't want Cousin Money to come home and say anything bad,
And he was real nice. He was a nice
guy.
person.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, they couldn't arrest anybody other than black people. And that was what I always heard.
Yeah, I hadn't
Yeah.
heard that.
That they weren't allowed to arrest white folks.
But they just
And when I was younger,
Mm.
but it changed as time went on.